Welcome to How I Made It in Crypto. This is our fourth edition. So we have had 1, 2, 3, and this is the fourth edition of How I Made It in Crypto. Now, How I Made It in Crypto is an event that, is created to help newbies get in touch with, people who have been in the crypto industry for a while, crypto experts, crypto analysts, technical analysts, business gurus in crypto and the likes, to help them gain understanding and insight into what the cryptocurrency ecosystem is all about. So basically it helps newbies get in contact with these people and then learn from their experiences, from our very first guest down to our last guest. It has been fantastic. People have learned. Personally, I've learned dollar cost averaging. I have learned the power of one, how important it is to trade just one coin. I've learned so many things. Paper trading, the importance of paper trading, I've also learned that too. So, these are all the things I've learned, and they have been, very, very great for my learning. So today we are going to be having, a different person, in class with us, and she's going to be teaching us the legal side of crypto money, how to make money from the legal side of crypto. So I'll be introducing our guests, but in a minute, I think I need to work on my lights. All right, so we are back. Sorry for the interruption and all that. So today we are going to be learning about the legal side of cryptocurrency. What really is the legal side of cryptocurrency? We all know that cryptocurrency is not regulated. So if currently there's no regulation, technically there's no regulation for cryptocurrency as such. If we know that, so how do we go about, cryptocurrency? How has our guest today gone about, cryptocurrency and making it in the crypto ecosystem? What did she do right? What shouldn't we do? And what should we, continue doing? So basically, that's what we are going to learn. So our guest for today, her name is Faith Obafemi. She is a blockchain lawyer and a serial entrepreneur. She is, I think I'll leave that to her so she can tell us all that she is. But more I would like to say today is that she's the go-to if you need to learn anything about blockchain and then space law. So if you want to go to space, or you are interested in traveling out, into the metaverse or whatever verse that is available for you to travel to, she's your go-to. So I'll be bringing her up now. So we'll give a round of applause for Faith Obafemi. So hello, Faith.
Thank you for the introduction. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. So thank you for coming on board, and I really do appreciate having you on the show today on this very event. And so this is how we are going to start, right? So you're going to tell us about yourself. So who is Faith Obafemi, and what does Faith Obafemi do, in the blockchain, ecosystem? How did you get started? What launched you into the blockchain? So basically just tell us everything, every single thing that we need to know.
All right. I hope I can remember everything I need to say. If you're expecting me to tell you that I got into blockchain and crypto, maybe because of some grand idea, well, I'm not going to say that. I simply got into crypto and blockchain because I needed to make money. I was broke and at home with my parents. That was 2016 and 2017. So I needed a way to make money online because of the situation of things with me then. And so I reached out to some friends, asking them about how I could make money online. And one of them told me, oh, that he has a friend who does some stuff online and makes money, that he would connect me with a guy. And so I reached out to this other person that he was connecting me to. And that one asked me if I could write. And I was like, well, I wrote my final year thesis, so I'm sure I can write. So that was how I started writing. Then I didn't even know it was called freelance writing. So I started writing, then getting paid 1 hour per word. And then over a while, I then got clients on my own rather than still writing for this guy. So I started getting my own clients directly. And after a while, some of those clients started asking me to write about blockchain. And so that was how I then like niched down, because before then I was writing about anything under the sun, any topic I'm given to. I was going to research and write about it. I had even written on medical topics, engineering topics, things I had no idea about before I being asked to write it. So when I started writing about blockchain, I kind of liked it. It was interesting. I then started to niche down to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so for like 2017 and early 2018, that was mostly what I was doing. Writing for blogs, websites, companies, even ghostwriting, but all on blockchain and cryptocurrency. Then early 2018, one day I asked myself that why don't I practice my law in the field? Because before then, I wasn't even really practicing law. I was just focused on making money to survive through freelance writing. So 2018, I told myself, why don't I make this my law practice area? So, and that was when I started calling myself a blockchain lawyer. And so projects that were into blockchain started reaching out to me to help them with their legal needs. Most times what I do is to help them with their corporate structure. Maybe they need to register as a company or as an NGO or whichever corporate structure they decide to choose. Then I help them with their legal agreements and even sometimes help them to negotiate. Maybe they need to sign on investors. So I help them to negotiate their cap table and all of that. So I still write today, sometimes I still write, but that was actually how I got into, I got to have a kind of professional career as a lawyer in blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I think that explains how I got into the space.
Thank you for that brief. I don't say if that's a brief introduction, so thank you. So you have a presentation for us, right? So we are going to get into it. So our guest today is going to be taking us through, everything we need to know about the legal side of, crypto money, what and what not we should and shouldn't do, and also about crypto business itself. So I'm going to make her the host so she can have access to sharing her screen with us. So here we go.
Feel free to interrupt me during the presentation if you have questions, or you can drop it in the chat, and maybe once I'm done, I'll check the questions. All right, I was asked to talk about the legal side of crypto money. And when we talk about crypto and law, there are different approaches one can consider. But before talking about that, I'm not sure if anyone on this call is a lawyer or a law student. Is there any lawyer or law student on the call? Okay. Thank God this is being recorded. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Okay. So thank God this is being recorded. So, oh, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm glad this is being. I was thinking that we're no lawyers. I'm glad to see many lawyers and law students on the call. But it's also good to know that this is being recorded, so you'll be able to share it with your friends who are lawyers or law students. Okay. Becoming a blockchain legal consultant is now like one of the highest paying blockchain jobs available. And if you've been checking out the reports from LinkedIn in the past couple of years, you would see that one of the top skills they've always listed in the top 10 happens to be blockchain. So that means you would like not be doing wrong to be able to gain skills as a blockchain lawyer. So talking about the approaches I mentioned earlier, when talking about crypto, and I know I'm kind of using blockchain and crypto interchangeably, but I prefer to use blockchain instead of crypto because I feel from blockchain is where crypto came from, since blockchain is the underlying technology behind cryptocurrency. And even though most people only see the financial application like payment solutions, crypto, and others, we still have other things one can use blockchain for. Okay, for me to use an analogy, we have electricity. We know electricity can power bulbs, it can power fans, it can power any other thing. But the most popular thing electricity could be used for, you can say, happens to be bulbs. But yes, electricity can still be used for other things. So that's just an analogy to explain what that means. So we're going to talk about blockchain law applications, implications, and occupations. Now I'm going to focus more on occupations because when she first gave me the topic, I was actually thinking she wanted me to talk about implications. Then when we were chatting just before the time for the event, that was when she clarified that what she was actually talking about was occupations. But fortunately, I have already prepared for all approaches. So I'm not going to dwell much on the applications because we all know blockchain can be used for different things beyond just cryptocurrency. Since blockchain is a distributed ledger that can hold transactions or values or even data. So this data could be anything. It could be records of public documents. It could be contracts between two parties. It could even be recording notaries. If you ever had anything to do with applying for a visa or applying to postgraduate abroad, you would have had a reason to like send documents that were notarized to the embassy. And because they know that there is huge fraud with getting notarized documents from notary publics in Nigeria or even from the courts, most expect you to go to their embassy to actually notarize the documents. So what if we have a solution where it is possible to prove that someone was actually in front of a notary public when the documents are being notarized, and also to verify also that the documents even being notarized are authentic and original. So this data could be in the form of financial value, like we know for crypto, could be in form of data, like I've just talked about. So like I said, I'm not going to go deep into the applications aspects. Now, the implications, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on implications because currently many crypto traders are worried about the CBN circular mandate given to banks to close accounts of people that are identified to be dealing in cryptocurrency. The person must have heard of the debates and even the latest decision by the courts in a case where RiseVet sued, and the court held that the circular is not law. You cannot criminalize something that is not contained in our law books. For anything to be criminalized or for the court to be able to pass an order for something to be done, it needs to be evident in our law books. There needs to be a law backing it. But circulars issued by the CBN is not law. The CBN is simply an agent of the state. They are not the legislator. They're not the Senate or the House of Rep that makes law. So they cannot come and just say they made a law and then tell banks to close people's accounts and all of that. But as we all know it, our rule of law in this country is very shaky. I'm not going to go into political discussion now, but I'm just going to highlight some things you can consider that can help you play safe when you carry out crypto transactions. The first one is you would need to have a corporate structure. I know most people use maybe their private bank accounts to carry out crypto transactions, but you will be safer going through a corporate entity. So that means you can consider registering a limited liability company. And please, a business name is not the same thing as a business as a limited liability company. With a business name, you are still trading in your own name, but just using a business name. That's why it's called business name. But with a limited liability company, your company is going to have its own identity, though it's an artificial identity. It's going to have its own identity. Your company is going to be distinct from you, the individual, or even all the other shareholders. And the latest development by the Corporate Affairs Commission was they now allow single shareholding companies. You know, before you can register a company, you need 2 individuals, but now you can do away with having to bring people you don't want to do business and be the sole shareholder. They now allow just one person to register a limited liability company. The number 2, you need to ensure you incorporate AML and KYC activities in your transactions. If venture you need to sell maybe $10,000 worth of Bitcoin to someone, it makes sense for you to carry out know your customer on that person. So you can even decide to do a video call recording your transaction, or you ensure you collect things like national identity information from the person, their name, and any other information that you think can be helpful. Because most fraud happen relating to blockchain and cryptocurrency happen to be with man in the middle fraud, where someone hacks a Naira bank account and then transfers Naira to you, and then you send them crypto. And once the issue is now like reported to the police or reported to the authorities, it is you who receive the money that ends up in police. But the person who bought it from you will probably be no one to be found because you won't have any details relating to them. And they only bought crypto from you, and it's probably not possible to trace and get who owns the wallet that is sent to you. So it's important to carry out measures relating to anti-money laundering and know your customer. There are some solutions that help you to keep this formalized. That's why when you're registering on some exchanges, even like BitsMama Exchange, you would need to pass KYC before you begin trading on the exchange. So for those who carry out maybe peer-to-peer transaction, you would have to be responsible for your KYC activities. Then we have data protection. Our new and latest data protection law in Nigeria requires that if you are a data controller managing the data of more than 2,000 persons or entities, you need to make some data reports, and you need to ensure that whatever you are doing is in line with the data protection law. But if you are running an exchange and you know you have over 2,000 customers, it means you need to check that you are following data protection. Then we have license. There's a mistake here. The second license is supposed to be hedge fund. We have some people who run crypto hedge funds. We also have those who serve as brokers for crypto transactions. According to our laws in Nigeria, there's the regulator like Securities and Exchange Commission. You need a license before you can run a crypto hedge fund or before you can be a crypto broker. The last implication I want to talk about is succession. Succession just simply means if something happens to you today, will your beneficiaries be able to claim or access your cryptos? I know for decentralized wallets, that could be difficult because you alone hold your private keys, you alone hold your mnemonic phrase. But for centralized exchanges, most of them now have a kind of next of kin solution so that in case something happens, you can apply to the centralized exchange and they can hand over the funds to the beneficiary. But for decentralized wallets that are on exchanges, that can be difficult to do. But some are also coming up with solutions that can help in that aspect. So one may want to consider things like keeping the private keys in the hands of somebody else so that if anything happens, they can hand it over to the beneficiaries, or even splitting the private keys between several persons. So if anything happens, those three persons come together with the private key, and that can be used to access the funds. So there are different solutions that can actually be considered. So the main talk for today is blockchain law occupation. Things that lawyers and law students can do in the blockchain and crypto industry. I have like 10 listed here. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are like the main career that lawyers and law students can explore in the industry. The first one is legal consulting. That's what I do. Should I say my day job? And there are things that lawyers can do as a legal consultant. I've talked about some of it earlier. If a blockchain project comes to you as a lawyer, most times they come in the form of a tabula rasa, meaning they are blank slates. So you're going to need to help them with a legal roadmap for their corporate governance, a legal roadmap for their corporate structure. Should they register as a limited liability company? How many shares should they register with? Or should they register as an incorporated trustee, as an NGO? So that is what a lawyer would need to advise on. Then they also need to consider the appropriate jurisdiction they should incorporate. With the current issues going on in Nigeria, we've seen that some crypto exchanges are leaving the country. Lately, I heard Patricia has relocated to Estonia. because of the legal bottlenecks that we have in Nigeria. Then they also need to consider whether they are going to be raising funds through an ICO or a security token offering or an IEO. I know ICOs are no longer too popular, but IEOs are now becoming popular. That's initial exchange offering, which means you can just list the token on an exchange and get people to buy those tokens instead of doing an ICO. And number two, lawyers and law students can consider policy formulation and analysis. Every day, in fact, we know the CBN is literally every week is releasing a circular saying they are regulating a particular aspect of the financial technology ecosystem. And like I mentioned earlier, the courts have already held that these circulars are not laws. So you don't expect banks to take action based on the circular and simply close people's accounts. In fact, if I want to begin analyzing the latest action by FCMB, I can even say that their latest action is against fundamental human rights, because the Constitution provides that no Nigerian shall be discriminated against based on circumstances relating to their deaths. And we know FCMB was saying that anyone who is between the ages of 18 and 13, they are going to now scrutinize their financial activities. So that is discrimination. So just because maybe I am between the ages of 18 and 30, then you can just come and close my account. So that's something against my fundamental rights. And we are not analyzing that today. I'm hoping actually those who the accounts have been locked would take courage and actually sue the banks for doing this, because you can actually exercise your rights, but many are not aware of this. Okay, so as a policy formulation analyst, every day we are having regulations and policies being released by regulators. Companies need someone monitoring this so they can ensure that they are complying with the new policies and regulations that come up. And this service can be offered not just to companies, but even to governments and international organizations. Number three, legislative tracking. This similar to the policies, but this now focuses on laws being enacted by the legislative house. So maybe by the Senate and House of Reps, and even the State's House of Reps. And we know that though this is not something very active in Nigeria, so we do have countries where literally every week or every month, there is a new law being released, and companies need people monitoring all of this, tracking it to ensure that their compliance is up to date. Okay, number four, legal compliance. This is similar to what I've been talking previously, but most times these have different names and just slight differences. So what legal compliance we do is help a company identify if they need a license to operate. You know, when I talked about in the legal implications, I mentioned that it's possible for those running maybe crypto hedge funds or working as brokers, they need a license from the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria. So depending on the business model or the kind of services that a crypto or blockchain company is actually offering, they need a lawyer to help them confirm if they need a license or if they need an approval before they can begin operations. Okay, legal representation and litigation. Although I don't work as a litigation lawyer, meaning I don't go to court, I work more as a transactional lawyer. But you must have heard of the recent court order I've been referencing already, where the courts ordered the banks to unfreeze RiceBet accounts that was blocked by the CBN. And the key myth of this decision was that these circulars by the CBN are not law. And before a bank can simply freeze an entity or even an individual's account, they need to show a law that backs the order up. So, and also when it comes to litigation, most crypto cases relate to fraud and cybercrime, where someone steals another's crypto, or maybe someone trying to buy crypto sends the crypto and never gets the naira, or sends the naira and never gets the crypto. And most often litigation in this area relates to fraud and cybercrime. This RiceBet case happens to be the first that I've come across that does not really relate to fraud and cybercrime. Then we have decentralized jury. When we talk about decentralized jury, I know in Nigeria, we don't operate the jury system. So it's just the judge and the lawyers that handle the cases. But in some other jurisdictions, they have a jury. Though it's not the jury that makes the decision, but whatever the jury's opinion is, weighs heavily on whatever decision the judge is going to make. So in blockchain and crypto, we actually do have something called a decentralized court, which is like a digital court where one can take matters to. It has several benefits because if you're taking a matter to a court in Nigeria, it's very expensive. You're going to pay for court processes, you're going to pay to book and hire a lawyer to handle the case for you. Let's assume you are suing someone that has paid for just a job for you to do that is under around $200. By the time you take that kind of matter to court, you may end up realizing you're spending almost $1,000 just to get the matter to be heard in court. But with a decentralized court, you can spend maybe $10 or $5 taking the matter to a decentralized court and having the matter judged in under a few hours or in 3 days. Now there is Claris, which is a decentralized court, and if you are interested, you can actually sign up and work as a decentralized juror. Though not only lawyers are accepted, anyone is actually accepted because the way the court works is they want those with experience in the matter that is in dispute. So if peradventure the dispute is relating to web design, they are going to want people with expertise in web design forming the jury. So it doesn't actually have to be only lawyers that can sign it. As long as you have expertise in the area that the dispute is relating to, you can sign up to a court, and if you participate in the court, depending on how it goes, you will get compensated for your work. Okay, legal research. I also do this by the side. Excuse me, someone is at my door.
Hello, everyone. Let's give our guest a few minutes to attend to the knock on the door, and then we are going to proceed. But so far, so good. If you have any question, please type your question into the chat box, and then we are going to have our guest sort them out at the end of the session. I hope we have been learning and we are enjoying the session so far.
Thank you. My apologies for the interruption. Okay, so where was I? Okay, as I was saying, you can also work as a legal researcher, which is actually something I also do currently. And maybe this is going to be the time for me to introduce a forum I'm currently part of. It's called Smart Contract Research Forum. And if you happen to join the forum, you can write research summaries on original papers, and you can actually get paid $300 per research summary. There's even currently there is even a Pan-African grant that is being focusing on Africans. So what happens is you look for a research paper that focuses on Africa, and then you can create a research summary and get paid for your efforts. Then if you are trying to break into the blockchain industry and you are looking for a way to gain practical experience, you can consider joining some deals, decentralized autonomous organizations. You can join LexDeal, that actually is filled with lawyers and law students. And you can also join Bankless Deal. If you join these deals, you're going to have an opportunity to practicalize anything you want to do as a lawyer or even a law student. And that's not it. In fact, currently I'm working on a research about space and blockchain. I'm researching on how people can use crypto in space, because I'm of the mindset that when we get to space, what money are we going to spend? When going to space becomes something that happens every week, when all this kind of activity starts happening, what money would we spend in space? Because currently the Outer Space Treaty says that no single entity owns space, but rather space belongs to humanity. And if that's the case, that's going to raise the issue of which currency would then be spent in space. Because if we say, okay, we're going to spend dollars, that's going to be raising the United States to a very high pedestal. So, and I'm sure many other countries are going to be against it also. So this brings the potential for a decentralized currency that does not have a single entity or a single authority or any single person controlling it, to then serve as the digital currency that can be spent in space. And fortunately, I'm being paid like 3,000 euros to work on that research. Okay, number 8 is smart contracts program. I know most students probably picked law because they did not want to deal with maths or anything technical. But in today's digital age, if you do not want to be left behind, you are going to need to pick up skills relating to technology. So if you are considering blockchain and crypto, you might want to consider being a smart contracts program. And I want you to know that lawyers who can program smart contracts will definitely be indispensable today and tomorrow. Okay, number 9, smart contracts audit. And just like we lawyers review contracts and agreements to be sure that maybe it favors not just the clients, but at least favors both parties, to be sure that it's in line with regulations and laws, we also can work as smart contracts auditors. And we will not just check for code bugs, you check for legal discrepancies. You may even want to consider inserting an arbitration clause. I talked about the decentralized courts not long ago. So you may want to include an arbitration clause that allows for parties to take their disputes to a decentralized court. And you want to also check the code for compliance. Then you want to check it for lock-in, especially in the days of the ICOs where the team just sets up a smart contract code, and then when people send their tokens to their ICO money to the smart contract, they get tokens in exchange. Most times the team tokens are not locked. So you find a situation where once they've raised enough money, they just do an exit scam. So locking could put more confidence in those investing in those tokens. could put more confidence because if they see that the tokens have worked for a long period of time, they have confidence in the team that, oh, this team is not going to work full or disappear anytime soon. Then you can also check the smart contract code for proper custody of funds. I talked about succession, and when talking about the applications, the implications, I talked about succession. So you want to check that if something happens to maybe the owner of the wallet, there should be a way to move these funds to the beneficiary. I think there was a time last year or so, there was the news of an exchange whose founder died and no one else had access to the wallet or the private key of the wallet. Now, that's to tell you that there were lots of security issues that should have been handled from the beginning. Because things like such a case, they should have been using a multi-sig wallet, at least. And then other security considerations that should have been put in place, but probably no one checked them out or even did an audit for them. So lawyers can consider this kind of career, though it's going to require a steep learning curve because you will need to learn about smart contracts. In fact, I'm currently doing this Securium bootcamp where we are learning how to analyze Solidity code, which is used for the Ethereum blockchain. We are learning how to analyze it to figure out security issues, and that could help explain some of the acts and fraud that has happened recently. The last one I'm going to talk about in blockchain law occupations is becoming a crypto forensic investigator. Now, this can work using even open source intelligence tools or sets, or it can work through some other advanced tools. So let's, I think around 2019 or so, it was kind of rampant then for kidnappers to request for ransoms in crypto. But most of them were not, how will I say, were not very knowledgeable about how crypto works, which is why I always say using crypto for crime is actually a very bad choice because it's easy to track. It's possible to get such a wallet blacklisted and many other things. So we had then where some Nigerians were kidnapping and asking for ransom in crypto. So what some crypto forensic investigators did was to simply monitor the wallet and check all the ins and outs and transactions happening in the wallet. And most of them were then sending the money to centralized exchanges where they needed to pass KYC. So once the money gets to centralized exchange, they're able to get all their information, their name and every other information there. And the next morning, while maybe they are holding a party enjoying the money, they just get a knock at the door and see somebody from the EFCC or the police waiting for them. So it was actually easy for them to track those kidnappers because most of them didn't exactly understand how crypto works. So there are those who actually do work as crypto forensic investigators, and lawyers can consider a career in this path. Now I'm just going to gloss over this. While we have blockchain, which is broad, you can decide to still niche down to different blockchain law occupations. I have a long list here. In fact, one of my mentors who is into blockchain and multi-trust recently released a book, Blockchain and Multi-Trust. So one can actually consider niching down to any of these blockchain law combinations. And this is because even if you already have a specialization that you are interested in or that you're focusing on, you can still get into blockchain. And when you think of getting into blockchain, you should come from an area you are already familiar with. This was what I did with my Tony Blair Institute application when I applied for the fellowship. I knew I was already grounded in blockchain, but I was trying to get into space. So what I did was to find a middle ground, which was the fact that what money would people spend in space? And an option that could be considered is cryptocurrency because it doesn't have a single authority or a single country issuing it. And so that was what gave me the idea to pitch my blockchain and space research. And luckily it got selected. So when you are entering into a new area, you should come from an area you are already familiar with. Now, the last one I want to talk about before I end my presentation, wow, it's already 6:51. The last thing I want to talk about is how to establish. So now you've decided to get into crypto, you decided to work as a lawyer in crypto. How then do you establish yourself? I always tell people to establish in an new area is for you to consume, to create, and to collaborate. What do I mean by consume? You should consume content relating to where you want to start. You can consume content in any format. You can consume articles, podcasts, videos, whichever one is more convenient for you or helps you understand faster. You should consume content in that area. Now that you've consumed content, you need to create because someone created this content you just consumed. So now you need to create content for others to consume. Moreover, creating content helps you to reinforce the things you have learned. It helps you to solidify the knowledge. You ruminate on all the information you've been taking in, and so creating content actually does more than that. And it even helps you to get seen as an authority in the space. And lastly, you should collaborate with people. Collaboration can be in different ways. For instance, I could call this webinar a collaboration with Bitmama. Collaboration can be maybe you collaborating with a colleague to write an article. For instance, I did collaborate with a colleague who is a guru in data protection. We did something on blockchain and privacy. The collaboration can be in different ways or different comments. By the time you do all of this, you are going to realize that you've established yourself as a blockchain lawyer or a law student in the blockchain. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I haven't bored you guys. I'm happy to take questions. I'm just saying that my time is up. I'm very sorry for taking too much of the time.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I enjoyed this session and I did learn a lot. So consume, create, collaborate. So these 3 C's can also work for any aspect of the blockchain, any line of the blockchain that you decide to go into. These 3 C's can work for it. And so but if you have any question to ask our guests, please drop it in the chat box, and then she is going to give us a reply. Any questions? And she has also dropped her information just in case you want to reach out to her directly, so you can reach out to her. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No question? Oh, okay. Well, since we do not have any, oh, there's a question. All right, John, you can ask your question. You can unmute and ask your question, or you type it in the chat box, whichever one you feel is comfortable for you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I would like to ask that what are probably groups that law students who have interest in blockchain law and compliance can join to groom that interest and all that? Like groups that law students in blockchain law can.
Okay, groups that students in blockchain law can get involved in, right?
Yeah, I did mention some of those groups during my presentation. I mentioned LexDo and BankLexDo. You can actually join them and work with them to get practical experience. Like in Bankers, though, they recently created a report where they researched on if the bankless door token is a security or not. And they even had country analysis. So imagine someone from Nigeria joining and contributing the Nigeria chapter. And even if you're not a lawyer, even if you're still a law student, you can join and contribute. And people were compensated for contributing their country chapter. So that's not only, you can even join SCEF. I mentioned SCEF during my presentation. We do have weekly calls where there are conversations around these topics where you can contribute and listen to others. And you can also do research where your research can be recognized. I'll send a link to my presentation to Rebecca so she can share with everyone. All these groups are listed and talked about in my presentation slides.
All right, does that answer your question, John? Hello, John.
Yeah, she has answered the
Okay, I think we had another question. Okay, I'm just joining in. Yeah, you can reach out. Our details are on the screen. You can reach out to her after the event. I think we have come to the end of today's episode. So thank you very much, Faith Obafemi, for your time. We really appreciated it. This was way beyond our expectation. You know, we really, really appreciated it. Thank you for your time. And also thank you everyone for joining. And most importantly, if you have not joined the Beat Mama Telegram channel, please search for us on Telegram at Beat Mama Exchange. So BIT Mama Exchange. You're going to find us on Telegram. So thank you all for joining. This is the 4th episode of How I Made It in Crypto, and it's more like How I Made It in Crypto and Crypto Money Making Skills joined together. So basically we had 2 events in one today, and it was fantastic. Thank you all for joining. Do we have any other new question? Okay, no. All right, so that'll be all for today. Thank you. Have a lovely and fantastic weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye. Well done.